Wukong really likes that setup, so that's why you're seeing it here. Azir, also another ban that, you know, classic control mage, one of the best in the business to do it. Not sure if they want to, you know, they don't have to ban the Xin because you can always have a Trundle as an answer now that it's been solved. So, okay, Varus makes sense.
Yeah, and I was about to say that there's still the Varus open, which typically has defaulted to being that red side ban. So we see this potential trade now. It's which one of the junglers wants to take the sort of Xin for Trundle gambit and make a little bit of a play there. I do think that having this Talia locked in increases value of Xin Zhao, makes that landing that seismic shove really easy if you can get the knock up from the Xin Zhao Q. And for Angel, a good little bit of stability in that mid lane. I mean, on the Talia, should have a lot of opportunity to roam. It's matched by SeTab's Rise, which again has an ability to roam, but not nearly the same capabilities in terms of global pressure. And it's an early Trundle taken by Arky here, so sort of hanging the fruit in front of EDG, saying, yeah, go on, take some of those AD junglers, we're going to play a Trundle into you, and we're going to make you suffer for it.
Yep. Almost daring Xiaohao to take the Xin now that the Trundle has been locked in, and EDG say, yeah, we don't care. We still trust in the combo being set up because it is that good and reliable. This might be a blind pick for CDC with the Gwen top lane, so now ThunderTalk, they can go ahead and lock in their top lane counter pick of choice, since bot lane has been left towards the second round of picks and bans in the past 3 series we've seen so far.
I do remember this duo back in just in 2024. The Xin Zhao Gwen duo is just circles of doom for ranged players, because the Xin Zhao puts his ult down, you can't auto attack him or do damage. The Gwen puts her W down, you can't auto attack her or do any damage, and you're just sat there sometimes, and that can buy a lot of space, right? If the Gwen is peeling or if the Xin Zhao is in front just creating space, that can mean that in some instances SeTab 1xn, they're just going to be sat there idle for, you know, a good 3-4 seconds at a time given on each ability. So you do need to consider the fact that for TT, getting up close and personal is going to be quite important, but also the fact that they are playing up against this Talia and up against this Gwen almost. Moving into those 2 champions is actually pretty difficult. The Gwen not having to chase you down for the snips and the skip and slash is going to be really important, and I'm very interested to see what TT will look to round out that bot side with. Obviously, we've got a lot, still pretty much the majority of AD carries open and available, but whoever it is that 1xn opts into is going to have to struggle their way through these team fights.
Yeah, the funny thing is, Roodood, even though they're relatively different champions on both sides, both of these composition cores want to achieve the same thing. There's global power in their mid laners that can make those roams. You have top laners that could be enabled to split push and apply a lot of turret pressure, so you want to play for grubs. And both of these junglers are heavy skirmishers, right? But not necessarily tanks. No one really has strong methods of engage, so that's going to have to come down to the support pool. Alistar is still available, so blinding a Rel would be a little bit of a gamble here. So it looks like ThunderTalk are going to go for an 80 carry option first, wait to see what Parukia locks in, and then give Feather counter pick of choice.
And I do think that that's smart, right? We highlighted that yesterday Parukia managed to get 2 player of the games in their 2 games that they played. He was a leading playmaker for them, so it does make sense that they are looking to counter the new support player for EDG, make sure that he's not getting as favourable a support matchup. And I do like that the Xayah gets locked in here. It gives a little bit of extra appeal and that little bit of safety as well to the oncoming engage. For EDG, this composition is about going forward. Gwen's in Zhao, they love creating space, they love buying time, and for the Rel to now get locked in, maybe Misfortune stocks do go up a little bit, but again, if you're looking for dive, Jhin isn't a bad option to try and layer damage over the top as well. A front line that, not necessarily the tankiest, but it's certainly one that TT will fear looking down the barrel of.
Yeah, anytime a Trundle is slammed, you just feel not really wanting to pick a dedicated tank, right? And so as long as the Rel can get her engage off, even if she becomes paper mache afterwards, it'll be okay. ThunderTalk actually not going for the Alistar, which is a common answer into the Rel since you can just easily punt her away, but just going for the Lovers Duo synergy with the Rakan for Feather. So I wonder if this is not just, hey, we want the Xayah Rakan synergy, but also we get to now keep Alistar as an option for the later series or the later games in the series.
Yeah, and that's something that they can consider moving into it. For EDG, we highlighted, again, this dive-style composition. They've got some good damage coming from the back with On and Angel playing these more utility and more artillery styles of carry. For TT as well, again, very short, very mid-range. Xayah, not a champion with incredible amounts of range. Rise, again, one of these battle mages that wants to get into your face. So the ability to create space for both of these front lines. Hoya, Arki, ZDZ, Xiaohao, they've both got big jobs up ahead of them. And the same to be said for these two support players as well. When I'm looking at the mobility of the double carries on either side, Parukia's got a real opportunity to find access to the Xayah and the Rise. Same to be said for Feather as he looks to take down On and Angel. These teams are playing double carries with no mobility, and as soon as you get caught, that should just be death. There's enough follow-up on both of these sides to take down these squishy members very quickly.
Yep. Rood, are we running cleanse on our AD carries this game? Is that going to be the de facto?
No, it's all knockups. It's all gross, disgusting knockups. You can't take cleanse versus, you know, Rakan knockup, Trundle Pillar. It does feel pretty bad, to be honest. And then for the Jhin as well, or not for the Jhin, but for the Xayah, you're playing up against Xin knockup, Rel, who just sort of distorts you and keeps you in place with the Magnet Storm. You can opt to cleanse the Rel Q if you want, but again, Talia W, it's not, you don't get that value. It's not playing versus Leona style of value for cleanse.
Yeah. Wasn't sure if Rel Q or even Rise and Power W was enough to warrant it, but I'd be down for just standard defensive summoner spells like a barrier. On actually running with the heal as we're onto the Rift. Xiaohao time. I'm hoping there was Xiaohaos. It looked like there were in the pop-up camera. I'm not getting any audio through my feed, so we're gonna pray. We're gonna pray that there is some nice Xiaohaos there.
Yeah, and I believe there would be, right? The first time that we see TT out on the Rift in EDG, you'd like to think corralling a certain amount of favour after their dominant display yesterday. Again, coming in, this new support player that has been on the EDG roster for 30 days, no more than, and made a really big statement in their first opening games just yesterday. Might have corralled some new fans, might have generated some new players that are new fans of the organisation, or at least his playstyle, to give them something to gyro about.
Right now, if EDG fans were gyroing, they are definitely happy to see that Parukia and On already getting aggressive in the face of the Lovers Duo bot lane, and fighting for push control should be able to ding level 2 pretty darn easily. I don't expect any early jungle shenanigans or for essentially the Xin and Trundle to look for anything outside of a full clear and then start looking onto the map. I know that normally that these are the types of junglers that have that flexibility if you wanted to do just 3 camps and then just try and cheese one of these lanes that's getting super volatile, but it doesn't really seem like there's going to be a window before that time.
No, I mean, you're probably looking to burn a flash mid lane, and that's probably about it for the most part. So we'll hope to see some actions around that mid lane, maybe looking for some fighting around Scuttle Crabs as well. But Xiaohao here, both of our junglers, in fact, clearing up towards that top side, largely matched for pace as well. And I will say as well, looking at that mid lane in particular, I am a big fan of SeTab on the rise. He's a little engaged on the bot side. Feather does get ignited, but he's able to batter dance out to safety. But SeTab on this rise, actually, you know, when TT struggled quite a lot last split, it was the rise that typically found them a little bit more success. He's got 6 games on the pick throughout split number 2. And actually found the 66% win rate on it, so 4 out of 6 of those games being a win, and there isn't really a champion in his play pool from the last split that has that level of success. So giving SeTab the rise here is definitely comfort, and is definitely a way that TT have found success previously.
Yeah. Managed to push out Angel early in the lane just to force a TP for that tier recall timer. Looks like SeTab got to do the same thing, but at least for himself, he's going to get an extra bit of consistent sustain with that refillable pot. Both the junglers exchanging opposite sides with those Scuttle Crab takes. So, like you said, Rood, doesn't seem like any exciting action is going to happen. Hoya is below 50% HP. Not sure if it's enough for a dive, but great chunk by ZDZ, already proccing the Ignite, and now Rude. Now Hoya is looking submissive and diveable here, so Xiaohao can lead the charge here, already racking up the 3-town strike. Will wait out the counter strike. Flash follows up. Wind becomes lightning. Easy peasy, and that's first blood for EDG.
A really well played gank on the top side by Xiaohao, set up by ZDZ. This is a counter matchup that the Jacks should have priority in. But ZDZ takes the Ignite, is outplaying in the 1v1, and that wasn't just a kill going onto the Gwen, that was a massive wave lost under the turret for the Jacks. So Hoya now really far behind the curve. This Gwen gets to go back to base, pick up plated steel caps, is now incredibly safe on this top side because it's not just up against the Jacks. If that Trundle happens to walk down, hey, that's an auto attacker that I'm getting value from. If they lane swap on me and I end up playing up against the Xayah Rakan, again, those are auto attacks that I'm able to sustain up against. And I think that ZDZ finds himself in a really good position. An initiated lane swap early on comes in for the TT bot side, maybe to try and bail out their top side, and maybe to give 1xN a little bit of a reprieve as well. We can see that down on that bot side, CS numbers not going too much better either, and for the time being, it's all EDG.
Yeah, definitely a must-need scenario for ThunderTalk, since, as you called out, both their top lane and their bot lane was starting to lose out in those respective matchups here. Aki trying to be a nuisance here and just yoink away the wolf camp. Not really stealing it away, just delaying the play here for Xiaohao. We're still about a couple minutes and some change before Grubs becomes a thought for both of these teams. Dragon is up on the table, but because we have that lane swap role swap with the lanes on the other side of the map, it's not really a priority for either of these teams given the time.
Yeah, I mean, early pings have come down from TT to try and make a move toward that dragon. Whether or not that's something that we will see them follow through on, you know, obviously remains to be seen. But TT are insistent on keeping this duo away from one another. And Hoya manages to counter-strike to get into this wave. And
oh no,
to see 3v1.
I was about to say, it's like this would be pretty hard to do. And now with the TP coming in, ain't no way it's going to happen now. And thankfully, it's not even SeTab burning the TP, just Feather using the power of that unsealed spellbook. Notice how Parukia is actually went for the Aftershock Keystone this game, not matching the unsealed spellbook. So just trading a little bit of that extra combat power for what Feather is going to get as utility later stages of the game. Because Xiaohao did show on the top side of the map, first dragon going to be secured here for TT.
Yeah, and you know, they had this plan. This is why they moved 1xN and Feather down to that bot side. Having 2 members on the bot side gives them more prio than having 1 member down on the bot side. It's a simple rule of maths, and it works out for them in the end. Getting an advantage in this game is definitely quite important because they were struggling across the board, and if this game does happen to need to go long, need to go late, having that extra 5 minutes where we can see EDG not have a soul could end up being very, very important. You know, speaking of that scaling as you do move into the late stages of the game, both of these teams with AD carries that can do a lot of damage as you move later on. Jhin in a different facet to the Xayah, I will say, but still, if it reaches critical mass in that late game, can do a significant amount of work in these team fights, and the same to be said for that Xayah as well. Again, can become that hyper carry. The attack speed steroid on the W means that she can just rip through teams if she's given the chance to do so, and again, that's the important part. It's the if she's given that opportunity with ZDZ again with the W, Xiaohao with the ulti. There's a lot of circles here that just make 1xN's life miserable.
Yeah. Story is quite different for both of these AD carries and how they want to be playing out those team fights. 1xN, if they're going into him, it'll be a better time with those feathers. Oh, do you really want this fight, TT? I don't think so. 1xN was a little too far away, disconnected from the play. Realm Warp from SeTab might try and salvage this one, but not going to be quite the case. Angel now joins the fray, and SeTab might be forced to flash here. Good seismic shove, not going to connect here. Oh, on with the curtain call, just going to try to slow SeTab in his tracks, but the 3rd bullet connects. Wind becomes lightning, lines up the 4th bullet, and EDG starting to run away with the map on this one.
Them's what we call some zoning ultis from On as he fires the first 2 just a little bit wide, but it does force the routing from SeTab to sign his own fate in the end. Quick roam off from those Swifties as now Hoya and ZDZ going to come to blows on this top side. I expect ZDZ can just hop out to safety.
Yeah, he's got Xiaohao on right next to him, so no real danger there.
At least one grub picked up by EDG in the back half of this. And I do hope that we get a little bit of a replay of what happened down on that bot side so I can highlight how difficult this job is for, in particular, 1xN this game. So an early engage onto Parukia, really good positioning from Xiaohao as well. But look at 1xN here. He has to walk all the way into the Gwen W. And to get that close to do damage, he then gets knocked back by Xiaohao, has to ulti out defensively, and actually contributes nothing to this team fight except burning his own ulti.
Yeah, it just really seemed like an overzealous play from ThunderTalk, and had EDG not been able to play the Fog of War game as immaculately as they did, you know, maybe TT are able to back off in time, but you see a stray Rel, no one else nearby, you think, yeah, we can kill this guy, and then suddenly, oh, they're all here. Well, now...
It was very clearly communicated as well. Xiaohao is playing on that the vision very, very well, and hopefully we can get to see this link-up between Parukia and Xiaohao continue to develop as the season goes on. Already seeing some very good glimpses in the early stages of split number 3, but you know, if this can continue, EDG looking like a team that, you know, topped out on Group Nirvana last time round and might look to end up doing the same here up against some of our potential other candidates for top spots in TT.
Yeah. I mean, Xiaohao already had a pretty darn good look against Ultra Prime last night, and here in Group Nirvana, the competition is not going to be as fierce as, you know, the teams in Group Ascend, but if you're able to just blast your way through Nirvana, you're going to set yourself up for a nice opportunity to get into the playoff stage, you know, and then we'll get to really see, you know, what EDG's tests are like. Obviously, they have to get through all the teams in Nirvana, and there probably are a couple teams waiting for EDG. Maybe NIP will be, with this rebuild, a team that is really worth the fight. Now, but back to this game though, Roodood. DDZ trying to push out this wave, and Aki was trying to see if he was going to overextend for it.
Yeah, might end up being a little bit frozen on him now, but I'm looking at this dragon spawning in 30 seconds here, Raafaa, and thinking, well, I have first item picked up for my Xin Zhao, and honestly, that is not matched anywhere else on the board. That's probably just enough for EDG to decide that they want to take this. I think that the fighting power of a 2-kill Xiaohao early on should be enough to set them up for this objective take. Yes, we're starting to see, you know, first items begin to come through for Feather and for 1xN down on that bot side, but I think that importantly, until those Trinity forces have been hit by Aki and Hoya, until SeTab has that Rod of Ages completed, TT are in no position to look for this objective, and even sniffing around here is very dangerous by Feather. He puts one ward in the tri-brush, he gets immediately swept out, and EDG find themselves set up very nicely on this top side, or bot side.
Yeah, and like you called out, Xiaohao's the only person on the map that has the first item. I guess 1xN also was able to complete his Essence Reaver, but ThunderTalk not wanting to play into EDG's hand and further risk elevating and escalating the goal deficit that they already are in. It's just all about, hey guys, take a step back, wait for these Trinity forces to come online, give SeTab a little bit of time so that he can complete both his Rod of Ages, get that stacking. This is, I don't want to say like a super late game composition that ThunderTalk have, but you know, this Rise will become a monster as long as they are given time. So the TT just have to take a step back.
Yeah, and it's about how well that side lane does end up going. I mean, as this Rise, you do sort of end up acting as a little bit of a frontliner as well, with the amount of HP, the amount of shields that you get from the Archangels as well. So there's definitely a possibility for SeTab to take over in this game. Again, this is a pick that both he and ThunderTalk have found success on through split number 2. So taking it in this first game of this Fearless draft, we're expecting good things for them. But so far, this pace of the game has, you know, slowed down quite significantly. We've made it to this position now where EDG, don't get me wrong, what, 2k gold to the good at the minute, but that's kind of been the case for the last couple of minutes, and if they are just slowly racking up neutral objectives and slowly building out that lead, then it's absolutely fine for it to go down, but they are going to need to start to ramp up the pace of this game just a little bit here, as we do begin to favour maybe the side lane capabilities of a Jax over a Gwen. The same to be said for a Rise versus a Talia.
Yep.
And then you've got the power of the Trundle as well, sapping the physical damage that's going to come out of Xiaohao, who is the accelerated member on this EDG roster.
Yeah, and even though Jin can pump some nasty damage in each of those 4 bullets that he's got in the chamber,
importantly, not versus tanks and not
Yes.
versus HP. It's Arky and Feather, you know, he's gonna struggle.
yeah, it's still just a very, very scary proposition when you have to deal with Rise or a Trundle Pillar slowing you so that you don't have as much freedom to reposition. The Jack's just blocking your damage with counter strikes. You have to dodge and the Feather on Rakan, right? So I definitely favor and would prefer, if EDG want to close this game out, it's time to start picking up the pace once all these item spikes are coming online and really push that mid game forward.
Well, looks like they're going for it on the top side. Needlework called. Diving top side. Goodbye, Hoya!
Nicely done, too. ZDZ, they must have been listening to the cast, Rude, because they, as soon as we're like, hey, guys, you need to pick this up, ZDZ goes, you know what? I agree. Let's take this, Jax. Let's get this turret off the board.
But look at what's happening on the rest of the map here. Now, if EDG take 2 turrets, that's very beneficial for them, and they'll really be happy with whatever they lose on the rest of the map. They're not going to lose mid-tier 1. They may lose bot-tier 1, but that's of little consequence to them, as with 3 people charging in on the top side. This is a massive acceleration of that tempo that we were talking about, where EDG able to push out and find themselves 1 kill on the top side, 2 turrets as well. And that then sets them up very nicely with a lot of gold going into their bot lane and resetting ZDZ as well, giving him a little bit of time to make his way out to the bot side.
Well, this does put them about 4,000 gold ahead of TT at the moment. Like you said, Rude, massive turret push on the top side of the map. So anytime they want to play through top lane, that jungle quadrant becomes that much easier to access. And then you can start really collapsing inwards onto that mid-tier 1. And then once you get the mid-tier 1, that's when things become just so damn difficult for any team to try and recover pressure on the map, because that one central point of safety is now no longer yours to have.
Yeah, and I think that importantly as well, the having this long lane now extended for whichever side lane matchup they end up looking at is going to be pretty favourable for EDG for the next 5 to 10 minutes of this game. We talked about the fact that as we move later on, maybe we begin to favour the Jax in that side lane. But that's expecting them to be on parity, where those items are the same, where the experience is the same, and they've had the same influx of gold in this game, which is just not the case in this instance. We've seen ZDZ get 2 really well-played ganks from himself and the team, taking down Hoya twice on that side lane, and that has now been extended to giving funneled turret gold into the EDG side, getting experience advantages as well. So that timer for when the Jax will take over in the side lane is pushed further and further back, and it just adds to the ability for EDG to play through their sides and start to take down other turrets as well, as you alluded to.
Yeah, and by decelerating the one split push threat that could answer pretty freely either your Gwen or your Talia and make your Xin and Jin's lives much harder with well-timed counter-strikes, it's a good way to kind of delay that time window where EDG say, oh, guys, we didn't close the game fast enough, GG, right? So,
yeah,
I think EDG's game plan has been very logically sound and well-structured, and, I mean, given that this is a team in Group Nirvana, you know, I can't fault them for maybe not playing incredibly on pace, on fast, but they're doing so, you know, at a pretty respectable pace at the moment.
And I think as well, if they hadn't taken, you know, objectives, if they hadn't taken some of those neutrals, we'd be having a very different conversation. But they are, you know, taking pretty much everything off the map that they can as well, right? Like, they're set up around this Rift Herald. They've taken the last dragon as well. So they're in a pretty good spot just in terms of those neutral objectives to put themselves in a position to take this game, even if the gold or the kills that they found weren't necessarily the highest.
Yeah. Just about 16 minutes into the game. Potential click onto Feather. Not quite. He just flashes away. But because he has Unsealed Spellbook, he's going to be totally just fine. He might just swap out that Burn Flash for something else off cooldown now. Rift Herald could be the focus.
EDG. Yeah, they need to try and fight for this. EDC has teleport, but again, talking about pushing the pace of the game, don't let TT take a fight when they're down on numbers.
Trying to jump onto Hoya. Prompts the counter strike. Parukia looking for an engage right now. SeTab could be the target. 3,000 HP on the Rift Herald. It's secured by Aki, but now the question is, can they get the hell out of there? ZDZ pushing the onslaught forward. Parukia goes right in, dives for it. Massive counter-strike by Hoya, but it's just a 1 versus 4 situation. And because he's so damn behind, he's not coming out alive. EDG walk away with another few kills in their back.
Yeah, the carries of ThunderTalk do survive, but EDG punish TT for trying to take that Rift Herald. And I say trying successfully so. They do manage to put a little bit of a dent in that EDG snowball. Not having that Rift Herald will slow them down, will make it so that this tier 1 turret is a lot harder to take out. And we get to see how all of this played out. It starts with Parukia actually having a bit of a whiff on the engage onto SeTab, but managing to take him at least down to 50% HP means that he can't particularly contribute to the back half of this fight. And then it's the engage continued by ZDZ as he's needle working through 3, able to use once again that hallowed mist to keep himself out to safety, and a rogue dancing grenade from On finds its way all the way back to Feather, takes him down, and now there's another engage. Parukia in a little bit of trouble, but exhausted down.
Flash. He might just go down here because On does not want to step up and risk his life just for his supports. That's twice now that Parukia has gotten a little carried away in what kind of engages that he was looking for, but at least for EDG, they're still trying to pick up objectives on the bottom side. No, the dragon gets stopped because Aki's able to use the pressure of TT from the mid lane, push with the Rift Herald, and move on over. Now they can try and secure the dragon.
And this is that little bit of an experience maybe coming to the fold. Parukia trying to establish vision on the top side while his team wants to take that dragon down in the bot side. Just a little bit off temp or off pace with really where the rest of his team is looking to be, and this now nets TT again another little bit of a reprieve, down 7-2 in terms of those kills, and the gold not looking too much more favourable either. We look across the board, 1k gold leads for every member in the top side of the map, 300 for On down in that bot side, and now SeTab under a lot of pressure here as this turret, not much HP, and with 3 people here, he should just go down.
Yep, they kill the turret, and now SeTab's got nowhere else to go. No TP, no Realm Warp either. Tries to flash away, but the Seismic Shove clips him anyway. That's an easy picking for EDG. What can TT do on the other side of the map? Not really anything here.
Yeah, it looked like they were trying to respond. I think that's why SeTab flashed in the first place, that they could hopefully buy enough time and allow for Feather, Aki, 1xN to make their way down here, but was not successful in that venture. And actually, as we see in the picture-in-picture there, looks like Aki was able to burn summon a heal of On, and now Parukia.
Uh-oh. Curtain call at the ready. Aki trying to run for his life. Good knockup by Xiaohao, looking for the curtain call last bullet, but it's just Xiaohao that finds another spear into the back of Aki's head and finishes him off. ZDZ getting a chance to push in this wave. No objectives for the taking, but this tier 2 turret will do just nicely for EDG.
Yeah, split 4 ways, that turret gold, so not the biggest influx, but once again, it's global gold for EDG, and continuing that progression through this game as Angel now sits 2k gold over his counterpart, Xiaohao, 2,000 gold, the advantage this Zhao has over the Trundle. And we talked about the fact that this Trundle theoretically a counter to the Xin Zhao. Again, Ryze and Jax were answers, counter picks almost, and Parukia super cones in, triple Magnet Storm to start this fight off. Again, that heads up play, the idea of this new support player taking over Group Nirvana is becoming more and more palpable with every single game we see.
Yeah. Now, at the 20-minute mark here, Roodood, Otacon has spawned on the map. You have to imagine that EDG, with an overwhelming 6,000 gold lead, that should be an easy objective just to force as soon as they have the vision setup necessary, which is why EDG already taking the measures to do so here.
And again, I will say, like, the point of TT that we always talk about, that we always hype up, is 1xN. He's working towards that Infinity Edge, but he doesn't have it yet. Once that starts to come through, maybe TT can look for a fight. But again, to highlight the difficulties that 1xN's going to have, there are going to be, 7 to 8 seconds where he can't safely auto-attack just because of Gwen W, because of Xin Zhao ulti. I can't understate how powerful this duo in particular was back in 2024, and we're starting to see shades of it back here again in split number 3, where ZDC and Xiaohao can buy so much space, can buy so much time for On and Angel to do the DPS, where SeTab as well as 1xN just won't be able to get any damage down.
And SeTab is trying to do his best to find any stray gold here. The objective bounty's at the ready. However, now this Realm Warp does not get canceled. Parukia just not in time with that Q flash. The SeTab at least lucky enough to escape with that one.
Yeah, barely gets out to safety there. The flash from the Rel being down is a big hint for TT, or a big help for TT, I should say, as now cleanse forced from Feather. But the Rel not having that engaged tool, definitely going to be something to keep our eyes on. Now, though, EDG collapse. 4 members strong into this mid lane, trying to take the tier 1 turret.
Oh, nice setup. Big chunk. Are they going to actually kill Aki? Yeah, even through the flash. Good night, Trundle. And ThunderTalk, they are just losing kills left, right, and center here. Roodood, ZDZ just picking up the wave on the bottom side. And with the next big objective coming up in just 50 seconds, another dragon can easily be picked up here. What do ThunderTalk need to continue doing? Because we already talked about 1xN and SeTab trying to just farm on up and get to those 3-item power spikes, but it just seems like they're not really given the breathing room here from EDG as, oh, well, I didn't expect ZDZ to push this far up, but now with the teleport being forced down, this should be a 3v1 easy kill on to ZDZ. Trying to see if he can turn around and find at least one more back. Needlework doing a lot of damage, but not enough to keep him alive or get a revenge kill back. So nicely done for ThunderTalk.
And this is 3 recalls that now need to come through. 1xN also caught.
Oh no. Not gonna burn the flash because he knows that he was already dead to rights in that situation. Hoya TPing in there. Just gonna get CC chained. Counter-Strike at least buys him some time on chasing with that last bullet in the chamber. Meanwhile, Angel and SeTab about in a 1v1. Oh, this is the LPL that I love, Roodood. Just constant action and SeTab, I don't know if he's getting out of this one. Tries to dodge all the skill shots. Not going to dodge that last set combo there. Xiaohao still leading the charge. Maybe thinking about another pressing forward on the engage. No, not going to be the case.
And what I will say as well, I want to highlight some of the build paths that we've got. Angel in particular here, opting for the Rylai second, I think is really clutch. Looking at the lack of mobility on this roster, he knows that if SeTab gets in range of this Hylia, then he's in trouble. But he's actually got longer range, and he can use Rylais to kite out the Ryze very effectively, and we got to see it perfectly down in that bot side fight. I also think that for the purposes of chasing down people and for the purposes of keeping both he and On safe, that this Rylais is actually going to do a tremendous amount of work. Currently 2 levels up over his mid lane counterpart, 4 levels up over the enemy AD carry as well. And 1xN here, just caught, walking his way back to his own jungle. Cleanses early, but doesn't really manage to find his way out anywhere near safety. And again, that's why I'm saying that, you know, back in the draft you asked Mark, do we think we see cleanse? Like, how useful was that cleanse there versus the Magnet Storm? Like, but it didn't do anything. He just kept on getting pulled in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, 1xN has had a very tough objective throughout this game, considering ever since the botched overextended play by TT on that bottom side of the map where they got baited by Parukia. Speaking of Parukia, are you dead, friend? You might be dead. Oh, a good crash down over the pillar, and now here comes the reinforcements with Weaver's Wall. Angel's not going to commit, though, because it's all 5 members there from the side of ThunderTalk.
Yeah, they're playing a little bit of chicken, I will say. Aki and Parukia there, and Aki just biting off a little bit more than he could chew. Needs to wait for the W from the Rel to come through so that he can interrupt it with the pillar. Instead, just gives Parukia the free out, right? Puts the pillar down, and all of a sudden the Rel goes, well, great, I can hop over this, none of you guys can, and gets to go out to safety. We are now 25 minutes into this game, though, Raafaa. 3.5 minutes on the Dragon means that we have got all attentions turned up to that top side. EDG are so far ahead, they are so strong that heading toward this Baron should just be the logical course of action for them. Instead, they're going to move into this bottom side or top side jungle, take out every single camp, make sure that they have established that vision first, and then turn their attentions to the big purple worm. There's a blue ward that is on here, but it's disabled, and now TT are constantly playing this game. Are they on it? Aren't they on it? How can we get in to find out? Well, now they know, but it's already gone.
I mean, Aki doesn't even have flash, so he would just have to walk up and hope that EDG would allow him to maybe smite it, but Baron's already been taken. And EDG are just trying to walk on out unless they can get a free pick here.
Oh,
That's
no.
the call. Seismic shove hits Aki in the face, and now it's a guaranteed 5-on-4 Bullets are flying from the curtain call. Hoya's trying to run away. He's not going to get far. EDG continuing for the chase. As Feather 1xn, Magnet Storm's going to catch SeTab, seismic shove, flicks him right back into the unraveled earth, and EDG are going to make quick work of SeTab in that scenario. Parukia does go down, but 0-7 to the new support because ED did his job.
Yeah, and I think you happily take that as the support here. You know that taking down the SeTab Rise is the important target there, and you'll happily sacrifice your life for it. Now with the Baron buff out there, backs EDG with a 20-second death timer on top lane, 30 on the mid laner. They're not just looking for inhibitor mid lane, they're going to look to the bot side as well. A pre-prepped wave by ZDZ. 2 inhibs will fall, and EDG putting a very nice little bow on this game number 1.
Yep. Already 12,000 gold ahead of ThunderTalk. If people didn't believe that the game was over a few minutes ago, then there is pretty compelling reason now to understand that TT are just looking at game 2.
And we asked them, sort of 12 minutes into this game, can you continue that snowball? And the second we did that, they made that play top lane where they take 2 turrets in the top side. They then a little bit of a misstep, it's worth saying. It's not without the occasional faux pas from Parukia, who stepped in a little bit too close, got caught out one time, and gave a little bit of a reprieve to TT, then being able to find a dragon. But other than that, I do want to highlight again that for a new support player, and for EDG being one of these teams that are in the Nirvana group, that this is a very convincing game, especially with the sample of yesterday as well.
Yep. If Parukia did not die in any of those scenarios, that we might have to question if divine intervention is going on here in the LPL. So EDG definitely have a potential star support on their hands that, like any new player in the LPL, needs some polish, needs some refinement. And right now, EDG trying to put the finishing touches on this game with all 3 inhibitors fully crushed and demolished. It's all just a few kills away before they can close out this game. Parukia with another beautiful Magnet Storm sets up the chase onto SeTab and Aki. Meanwhile, Hoya is buying time on the top left side of this fight, and he's doing a pretty darn good job considering he's down a lot of gold, but On still survives, and Hoya's forced to flash away, but cannot survive against the curtain call of doom. And EDG finally pushing in through the Nexus Towers. 1xn will try to do his best, but it is still an EDG victory over ThunderTalk.
Game number 1 goes the way of EDG in convincing fashion as well. SeTab, Feather doing, little bits of what they can. 1xn chiming in as well, but the overall gold lead for EDG in that back half fight was just far too much Baron pressure at their backs as well. And again, for EDG, almost a team-wide, really solid performance. I do think that ZDZ had a really good game this time round, and whether it's him calling for his team to come to the top side and dive the Jacks, or whether it's just the team knowing that there's a set-up play here, either way, the Gwen laning was able to set up for these really big advantages that then ended up spilling into the rest of the map.
True. And now if you're ThunderTalk, going into this Game 2 draft, I think on the one hand, you can give them the benefit of the doubt that this is technically Aki's first staged game with ThunderTalk, and, that bot lane Tribush bait by Parukia and Xiaohao was very devastating to recover from, because even though that it's like, well, it was a 2,000 gold lead, how much of a difference does it make? It completely slowed down any of Trundle's tempo that he wanted to have over the Xin Zhao, because like we said before, guys, people have been looking at this Trundle pick as the answer to pretty much every single AD skirmisher that's in the game right now. And if you're able to get that Trinity Force undecelerated, you just win all the time. But after that fight, Sundersky rush for Xin Zhao, he's the guy that's walking with the big stick on campus.
Yeah, he's ahead of the curve. He's the one then able to push the accelerator or push the pace of the game, and that's exactly what Xiaohao did. I mean, I'm struggling really to look at somebody in particular who stood out in this game for EDG, because overall, I think that everybody really played their part. I think that Angel in the side lane on this Talia, having a flawless performance in game number 1, was able to not just build appropriately, but also made it so that he got some good kills in the side lane individually, was able to set up for some very solid team fights as well. By and large, seismic shoves on point, making it so that really this game never really looked like it was in doubt, and that all 3 carry roles looked like they knew what they were doing. The supporting cast were where they needed to be, and if if EDG can continue this here, they could be coming into, just the end of day 2 as very strong favourites for this group of Nirvana.
Yeah, and if they continue this pace just for the remainder of the Rumble stage, I know that many Group Nirvana teams don't have to fear for the, Shadow Realm. That was the punishment in finishing bottom 2 last split. Now it's just about, can we look good enough that maybe we get a chance to get into playoffs? EDG, I'm already calling as a dark horse coming from Group Nirvana. And now, if I'm like NIP or LGD, maybe... Yeah, no. Just LGD and NIP as the other 2 teams from Group Nirvana that might be like the teams that were going to push for a playoffs, potential appearance. Maybe ThunderTalk wanted to be in that same crowd, but the way that at least we're just watching EDG play out the opener of this split, I'm just very convinced that some of the bottom teams from Group Ascent are going to have to be very careful when playing against EDG.
It is a very good state for EDG, and it is worth saying as well that, we talked about this a little bit on the flip side, where the bottom half or the bottom stack of Group Ascend isn't particularly as large as we'd like the amount of teams in there, saying we've got maybe 7 contenders for Worlds potentially, like that. The bottom echelon of Ascend definitely on a completely different scale, but you may end up seeing that there are the likes of EDG that can start to take these really impressive performances and become maybe a new FPX, a new WE from split number 2, who had that really important, really breakout split. And if EDG can make a really big sweep through Group Nirvana, that's when you begin to think, well, actually, what is their ceiling going to look like? Yeah.
I mean, if WE can rise from the depths of split 1, fourth seed in their respective group, and Vampire went from missing point blank dredge hooks and Alistar flashes and rel combos into legitimately looking like a top support in LPL by the end of split 2, I could believe an EDG train. Obviously, this is just day 2, week 1 of split 3, but this season moves fast, if speaking from experience with the Rumble stage in split 2, Rood.
Yeah, absolutely. And for EDG as well, just getting these 2 wins on the board is going to be really important, especially when you don't play nearly as many games as Group Ascend. Each game has that higher weighting on it. And I will say as well, if they're able to close this out in 2-0 fashion, game score ended up being a really important part of how tiebreakers were decided in the back half of Nirvana in split 2, so there's a very real possibility that happens to be the case again, and taking 2-0 wins will actually be very important and much more impactful as you move into the later stages of this split. These are the things that you look at now and you think, oh, a good 2-0, really nice, well done EDG. But when you move towards the end of the split and you think, wow, they had a really good game score as well, that's when it starts to matter. When you're looking at these tiebreaker scenarios and looking at these who's going to win out on securing that first place for the group, it's actually coming down to who got those clean 2-0s earlier on in the season.
Very true. Very true. And I just want to say, Rood, you mentioning that everyone on EDG did their part is just a really promising sign for this org, as well as fans who have, had to deal with the slow decline of EDG and performance domestically and lack of international showing ever since coming off of the high of their 2021 World Championship run, right? So, and you know what? Yeah, I think this is totally acceptable as an MVP, because like you said, everyone did their part. I would have been happy with Angel. Hell, I could see a world where ZDZ got it because he set up so many successful dives for Xiaohao to succeed, but he was the engine that got this early game rolling and was able to enable all of the snowballs to happen.
Absolutely, and you get to see that there's a little bit of a glimpse of where his presence was felt the most. And for EDG, sad that Parukia doesn't get to keep his 100% support player of the game ratio, but shouldn't have died, shouldn't have missed that 1Q flash on the rise that we all saw and giggled at. But Xiaohao, though, a very deserving winner. And following up, I think that the support jungle duo is something that we need to continue to track for EDG, because there are definitely power, or there is definitely power in that. It's about whether or not they can continue to develop that and take that up against equally quite strong teams.
Absolutely. Well, before we toss it over to break and get ready for Game 2 of the series, we want to remind everyone at home that we're extremely grateful to our Coffee and YouTube subscribers who help level up the show. A lot of the initial payments go into upgrading the broadcast, but a huge bulk of it does pay on-air talent and content creators. So subscribe to our Coffee, linked in the chat below, to unlock perks like early access to content and the ability to ask interview questions for our unique on-site interviews. Without further ado, it's time for break. See you all for Game 2.